I'm saying nothing. Hello viewer, welcome back to 54A at last. Depending on when this video goes out, it was either yesterday or a few days ago, I put a little picture up on Facebook showing this little off-centre little bowl that I did using a glue chuck, and I said the next one I'll do a video of to show you the process. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got a piece of ash this time. This is sweet chestnut, and this is like twice as thick, so it's a lot heavier. So I'm hoping the glue chuck holds. I haven't had one fail yet, but you never know. So the first job, I've marked the centre, which I'll be using later. I'll just swing the camera down and show you what I'm going to do. Right, as I say, there's more or less the centre. They're never perfectly round. I'm a little glue chuck, but I don't want to put it in the centre. I want to put it about ½ inch or so off centre. So maybe even 3/4 of an inch. You don't have to measure it. I'll put it about there, I think. Not too far off. And got my glue gun. Nice hot glue in it. Put plenty on. Glue sticks are really cheap, so you may as well use them properly. Don't skimp on the glue. Back in a minute. Right, it's all glued on. It's still warm. Don't be tempted to put your finger on it. It will burn you. Leave it for 5 or 10 minutes to cool off properly. Go and have a cup of tea or coffee. Do what you want for 5 minutes. Boil an egg, I don't know. And then put it in your chuck. That's when the fun starts. Okay, all on the chuck now. Now I'm just going to switch it on just to show you how far off centre it actually is. That's a fair wobble. As I say, that's a professional term, a right good wobble. Now you want to sort of find out where you're going to put the bowl bit. So that's about as far away. You want to come in a bit. I'm going to start about there, I think. So the bowl itself will actually be like that. Yep, and then you just start hollowing out and face it off. But I'll just mark first with a tool. Use the thin parting tool just to put a bit of a groove in there. Now I can see better what I'm doing. Best just to face this off. Well, you don't have to face this off just yet. You've got more or less got to concentrate on digging the bowl out. When I reset the glue chuck centrally, probably be easier to face that off then. So don't worry too much about that. So I'll start digging, I think. That's a start. Now I'm only going at 500 revs, so now I'm a bit more confident with the glue chuck. I shall turn it up a bit. That's a much better cut with a bit more speed. You can already see now, and I'll pull the camera back a bit for you. You can already see now that's taking shape. It's well off centre. That's really nice. but I've got a lot of digging to do now. This is just like digging an ordinary bowl out now. You've just got to make sure that you don't put your hand here, because of course it's off centre, so keep your hand behind the tool rest. I'm going to carry on digging now with the gouge, but I will start off then with the round carbide cutter to give me the finishing scrapes. Yeah, much better cuts with a bit of speed on it. Right, see you in a bit. I'm just putting a few very light finishing scrapes on now, the little 10mm round carbide cutter. That's about as smooth as I can get it really. Now what you've got to think about is, if you want to put any little accent lines around the bowl, for instance, now's the time to do it. If you try and do it when you've centralised it back up again, it's not going to work, is it? And for this one I think I will just put a tiny little groove round and maybe try and burn it. We'll see. I'll have a go with the thin parting tool. If I can find a nice thin piece of wood. Ah, there's a bit. I'll try and burn that in. Yeah, I think that'll look quite effective. Good burn in there. It's just a thin piece of walnut actually. In the groove, let it burn. When it smokes, you know it's done. It's cooked. Right, I shall sand the bowl now. This actual bowl section can be finished off now. It's going to be hard to get at. Your hand's going to be all over the place once it's the glue chuck's been altered. So I'm going to go through the usual sanding process now, and then sanding, sealant and polish it. This ash does lend itself to a lot of finishes. You could lime it, you get a beautiful grain in the ash, but I'm just going to leave it plain. This is more for the process of doing one of these offset bowls with the glue chuck rather than the finished article. So I'm not going to be too fussy. Again, it's when you, when you're turning something like this, keep your fingers out of the way when you're sanding. It's quite easy to get knocked, because when we're sanding standard things, I know I do. I tend to get my hand right on the edge of the wood, and of course it wouldn't work like this. So you just approach it from the front and keep your fingers out of the way of the edges. It's just a light sanding up to 240. I'll put some of the old Yorkshire grit on now. Well, sanding, sealant, then Yorkshire grit, etc. Right, the real awkward bit is removing the glue chuck, because you can't get your tool rest in too far because you're working off centre. That's about as close as I can get it. Now I'm not going to take all the glue off. I'm just going in with my skew chisel and I'm going to take most of it off, so it still holds. I'll be able to break it off then with a bit of luck. Try that. There it is. Not bad at all. Now just clean this off and then reset it. I'll show you. Just get this off and then I'll show you what the next step is. That will do. Right. Of course you've got a little bit of glue to clean off there, but that'll come off with a scraper or the end of your ruler. Right. Hang on, just put a bit of extra light on. Ooh, brilliant. Right. Little centre mark. Now, my glue chuck's got a little hole all the way through, which helps me line it up with the centre mark. So, do that. Glue it on. You should be more or less central. So these are very rarely perfectly round, but do your best. And then it goes back on the chuck. About there, I reckon. Okay, see you in a bit. Right, I'm just trimming it up now with, it wasn't far out, as you can see, there's a little bit of wax there. So I'm just trimming it up now with a scraper. I'm just going to face this off now, and I'm going to use the point of my skew chisel for this. The tiniest little scrape needed now. In fact, it might even come off with sandpaper. But that's how you do it. Well, that's how I do it. Now it's a question of just shaping the back of the bowl. Again, I usually keep going back to my trusted scraper. But use any tool you like, just give it a bit of shape. I tend to just sort of knock the corner off and then start using the gouge a bit more. See if I can get a better angle for you. That's it, just keep doing that till you're happy with the shape. And then on to the next stage. I'm just running the side of the gouge up now, the bottom edge of the gouge, very gently, just keep running up. I'll show you in a minute, just using very gentle strokes till I've got the exact shape that I want, just following the curve round. There's just that little spot there that needs curving in a little bit. It's just a little bit of a flat spot, and we're away. I think not bad. I'm just going to try and put another fine line round the face. It'll come quite close to this line here, but I think it might look quite effective. I'll give it a try anyway. If not, I can always skim it off again. Let's go a little bit deeper. got it. I'll try and burn that now with a piece of walnut again, so we can get that in there and put a bit of smoke on it. I like that effect. I like that very much. Okay, now, get that out of the way. Got to sand it down, sand the face down. Try not to get my fingers in the bowl, but it's not too bad now, if you know what I mean. You can actually do that. There's no nasty edges to worry about. So I'm going to get it sanded down, and I'll show you what I've done in a bit. I mean, you can actually get your fingers in there, it doesn't hurt, it just bounces off. Right, I'm just going to get rid of that glue chuck now. Same as before, take most of it off, hopefully. Don't know if I've taken enough off, soon find out. There you go. All that remains now is to clean the bottom up. Little palm sander or anything like that. Now there are a number of ways you can clean the bottom up. I'm just going to use a little palm sander for this and chuck a bit of polish on it. Donut chuck, made one of these a few weeks ago. This is a massive one, but it would still hold this little bowl. Button jaws, I made these a couple of years ago now, 18 months ago. They fit on my chuck, hold the bowl in. That's the method I'd probably use, to be honest. The donut chuck is a bit OTT for such a small bowl. But as I say, just a little palm sander on that, that'll do for this method. And that's the finished thing. Got a nice bit of staining on that wood there. And that's it. How to do an offset bowl using a glue chuck. Well, in the end I decided just to put the button jaws on and skim it off like that. A nice smooth base on it now. And that's a little exercise in using a glue chuck. You can get these eccentric off-centre chucks and kits and what have you. You know, they're really expensive pieces of kit. If you buy yourself a glue gun and a box of glue sticks, it probably costs you about £12. You know, so as long as you use it properly and get the glue as hot as it will possibly go, you should be okay. Now, I've never tried anything any bigger than this off-centre, but it's something I might just experiment with, see if I can put an 8 or 9 inch blank in maybe. It should be okay. We'll find out. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I've noticed the extra light I've got here. Just show you with the camera, hang on. A bit dusty now, but still. These little lights that Mike Walt was on about, and they are excellent, little LEDs. I bought 4 of these. I've got one on this my workbench. I've got one over here by my lathe. I've got one set at the back of the bandsaw, and I've got one over my grinder, and they are brilliant for £10 each. Superb little pieces of kit, and a good heavy base on them as well. You can put them where you want, they go wherever you want and they stay wherever you put them. I like them, really good. Anyway, I digress. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you soon for the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye.